If you're the smartest person no one's ever heard of, this video is for you. So you're genuinely good at what you do. Your clients get results. You know your stuff. Yet somehow you're still losing deals to people who charge more and know less. You're still starting from scratch with every new client. You're still invisible to the people who need you most. That's not a skills problem. It's a visibility problem. And the painful irony is, the smarter you are, the more logically you run your business, the worse this gets. So today, I'm gonna show you 5 problems baked into every expertise-based business and why starting a YouTube channel is the only way to fix all 5. So I want you to think about the last time you helped a client. Maybe you applied a framework that you'd spent years developing. Maybe you helped them see something that they couldn't see on their own. You watched the little light bulb go on and the project wrapped up and they paid you. And then all that thinking was gone. That happened once for one person, and then it disappeared the second the work ended. And it makes logical sense that this wouldn't bother you. You know, the engagement felt like a completed transaction. You delivered value, you got paid, done. Your brain filed it away as a win, and you move on to the next one. But it's actually kind of a waste. Kyle Seagraves, he's a mortgage advisor who used to record about 1,000 personalized videos a year for his individual clients. Quick screen shares walking through loan estimates, explaining what an appraisal is. The same questions over and over. And each video got watched once by one person and then disappeared. Same waste we're talking about. But he was watching a lot of YouTube at the time, and he had the idea, why not start uploading those same explanations as public videos? So he started the Win the House You Love YouTube channel, and today, that channel's got over 190,000 subscribers, and his top videos have over 1 million views. And the crazy part is, he says he's only lost 3 clients to a competitor ever since. And this is in an industry where people shop pretty much completely on fees. And that last part's the key, because when someone watches you break down a problem on YouTube, they don't walk away thinking that they got what they need and don't need you anymore. Your videos create even more demand to hire you. The same thinking that just vanishes after every client wraps up becomes the exact thing that attracts the next one. You put it on YouTube once and it works for you between projects. YouTube lets that thinking compound instead of disappearing. And real quick, if Kyle's story has you wondering whether YouTube is actually gonna work for your business, I built a free tool that's gonna give you a straight answer, and it's also gonna map out your first 5 videos that you should make that's gonna start bringing in clients. And the link to that tool is down in the description if you wanna get immediate access to that for free. All right, but here's the thing. None of this works if people don't trust you enough to hire you in the first place. And YouTube fixes that too. Here's how. It makes sense to believe that trust is built through logical evidence. You get on a call, you explain your process clearly, you answer every question, and you send a strong proposal. If the buyer's rational, that should be enough. But people aren't as rational as you think, and most of them just don't make decisions that way. We as human beings don't logically evaluate all the options and then pick the best one. We go with whoever feels the safest. And that usually means the person they've seen the most and spent the most time with. There's a gap between thinking someone's qualified and actually trusting them enough to hand them money. I call it the trust gap, and it's much wider than most experts even realize. James Knoll is a planner at Root Financial, and his prospects show up to a 30-minute call, and 90 to 97% of them hire him on one single call. Now that shouldn't be possible, but it works because by the time they get on the phone, they've already watched hours of his YouTube videos. First of all, they actually show up to the call, which can be kind of rare these days, and they're not skeptical of him when they do. They already trust him, so the call is basically a formality, and he's built $1.3 billion in assets under management like that. So why does this work? Well, let me show you here. So this table breaks down how many times someone needs to interact with you before they'll buy based on the price of what you're selling. A touch point is any time someone consciously engages with you. That could be they open an email, they read a page on your website, they stop on a social post. Each touch point counts toward this. At $500, you only need about 5 to 8 of those. That's pretty manageable. But look what happens as the price goes up. At $5,000, you need 15 to 30 touch points over 1 to 3 months. At $10,000, that jumps to 30 to 50 over 3 to 6 months. And if you're selling anything over $50,000, you could be looking at 100 or more interactions spread over a year. So find your price point on this table and ask yourself, how are you earning that many interactions right now? But there's something this table doesn't tell you. Touch points aren't all equal. Someone reading your LinkedIn post for 10 seconds and someone watching you think through a problem on YouTube for 15 minutes, they're both technically one touch point, but one of them did almost nothing to build trust. The other one let that person hear your voice, see your face, and decide whether they like how your brain works. The two are not the same thing. I call this touch point density. So how much trust does one single interaction actually build? One YouTube video builds way more familiarity than dozens of posts or emails ever could. It's more dense. And there's a rational reason this works so well. When someone watches you on video regularly, their brain starts treating it like a real relationship. They feel like they know you. 10 to 30 minutes of hearing someone think out loud builds the kind of familiarity that normally would take months of traditional marketing. So when you look at this table and you see that a $10,000 decision needs 30 to 50 touch points, you have a choice. You can grind those out one low density post and email at a time, or you can make YouTube videos that compress the entire trust building timeline into just a fraction of that number. So YouTube doesn't just build trust faster than anything else. It builds the kind of trust that makes smart experts like you actually winnable, but only if people can find you first. And right now, most of them can't. Being the best option out there should logically lead to you winning more business. Unfortunately, that's not how buying decisions actually work. So you're competing on skill in a game that's won on visibility. And you've probably felt this. You get on a discovery call with someone who either found you through a Google search or someone referred you to them. And they're polite, but they kind of keep you at an arm's length. They ask you what you charge in the first 5 minutes. And you can just kind of feel them mentally stacking you against the two other people that they're probably going to be talking to right after you. And you just know that you're the best option in that room. But the call doesn't feel like it. It feels more like an audition that you're going to lose. That's what it looks like when you're winning the wrong game. You've spent years getting better at the work, but the person who gets hired isn't the most skilled. They're just the most familiar. So 81% of people who are in the market for a service have already picked who they want to work with before they ever talk to anyone. Which means if you weren't right there when they started looking, you're not even on the list. And 73% of people trust someone's content over their credentials when deciding who to hire. Not your resume, not your certifications, your content, your videos. And if you're thinking, well, I get most of my business from referrals, so this doesn't really apply to me, the numbers aren't great there either. So let's look at how referrals actually break down. 83% of happy clients say that they'd be happy to refer you to their friends, but only 29% of them actually do. And then over half the people who do get referred to you are going to Google you and then not really find anything that stands out and move on to someone else. And that means even your warmest lead source is leaking at every stage. But here's the YouTube version. So YouTube handles over 3 billion searches a day. When someone types in the exact problem you solve, YouTube shows them the people who made videos about it. So no one had to refer them. No one had to remember your name. You show up because you showed up on camera. But here's the part that actually matters. When someone finds you through YouTube, that discovery call is completely different. They've already watched you explain things. They've heard your voice. They've seen how you think. They show up and say, I feel like I already know you. And I've been on that call before, and it's really trippy when it happens. It's kind of like the difference between a no-name actor having to fight an audition for every role versus a director just calling Ryan Gosling and offering him the part. They've seen his work and they know what he can do. I mean, what can't he do? There's no price interrogation in the first 5 minutes now. There's just a person who already trusts you asking how to get started. There's a product manager at YouTube, Todd Beaupre, who said something that really stuck with me. YouTube is essentially just word of mouth at scale. And it's really true, because instead of one happy client telling one friend about you, every video you post is telling hundreds or thousands of people at the same time exactly how you think and why they should trust you. But even with a full pipeline of people who want to hire you, there's still a ceiling on how much you can actually earn. And most people have never really done the math on where that is. Raising your rates feels like progress, right? You go from $150 to $200 to $300 an hour, your income goes up and it feels like growth. But it's not really. You just built yourself a higher paying job. So I've got 2 cups here, and both of them represent your income capacity. If you charge $200 an hour and you're realistically booked about 2/3 of your available hours, which is the average, your annual income caps at around $271,000. Push yourself to the point of burnout, and maybe you can push it to $300,000. That's this lid right here. You can keep dropping jelly beans in one at a time, but once it hits the lid, no more is gonna fit in. And sure, you can raise the value of each individual jelly bean and charge $300 or $500 an hour. Each one's worth more, but the glass is still the same size. There are only so many hours and so much of you. And only 18% of freelancers ever hit 6 figures because this model just has a built-in cap that no amount of talent can push past. Heath Adams is a cybersecurity consultant who is billing $250 an hour, but he started posting hacking tutorials on YouTube in 2018, and companies started reaching out to him. He realized the audience he was building was worth way more than his billable hours, so he actually launched a course teaching the same skills and priced it at $30 a month and just sold a ton of memberships. All inbound from YouTube, 0 ad spend. And that grew his company to 8 figures just because he took the lid off of his glass. That's what this second glass looks like. So the only way past the ceiling is to stop tying every dime to an hour of your time. That means creating something that delivers your expertise to lots of people at once. A course, a group program, a membership. One jelly bean goes in, which represents the time that it took to create it, then every new person fills the glass without costing you more time. There's no lid. But none of that works without an audience, right? You can build the best course in the world, and if nobody knows you exist, it just sits there. YouTube builds the audience that makes the whole transition possible. So I did client work myself for over a decade, but then just a few years into YouTube, I was able to stop working for other people and shift 100% over to courses. The channel built the audience first, and then everything else followed. Now maybe that kind of shift appeals to you, maybe it doesn't. Either way, YouTube opens doors that you didn't know existed. Book deals, speaking gigs, podcast interviews that put you in front of someone else's audience for free. Partnerships that would have never found you otherwise. Once you have a channel that demonstrates how you think about things, these opportunities come to you that have nothing to do with your hourly rate. The ceiling or, the lid stops applying. But none of this matters if you don't actually start. And there's one final trap that catches smart people specifically, and it's probably the reason that you haven't pressed record yet. Thoughts like, I need a better camera, I should get my website sorted first, or I want to wait till I'm sure that I'm doing this right. Admit it, you're thinking that right now, right? And I get it, it feels efficient to want to prepare before you start. Measure twice, cut once, that kind of thing. Why publish something rough when you could wait and publish something great? The logic sounds airtight, and it's convincing because it sounds responsible. It sounds like quality control, and it sounds like it's the smart move. But check out Dave Zoller. He's another financial guy who started with just an iPhone and terrible videos. After 7 months, he had 70 subscribers. Then one video about Social Security generated him 20 appointment requests in one weekend. Cut to now, and he's got over 226,000 subscribers, and he's brought in $60 million in new assets in a single year. He didn't get a new certification or upgrade his camera. He just kept posting until something caught on. And the research backs him up too, because there's a meta-analysis of 95 different studies that found 0 evidence that perfectionists produce higher quality work. 0. You don't make better stuff when you wait, you just make less of it. So that little voice that says not yet, it's not protecting your quality, it's protecting you from being seen. And if you're waiting until you feel confident, that's an even worse bet. Most people assume that imposter syndrome fades as you get more experience. It doesn't. 71% of CEOs experience it. So the more you know, the more you understand what you don't know, and the louder that little voice gets. So waiting to feel ready is really just waiting for a feeling that gets further and further away the more qualified you get. And every week you wait is just a video that could have been working for you for the next 5 years. Because content compounds with interest, right? You waiting for 6 months to get started means 26 fewer videos in your library, each one an asset that could bring in leads for years. You're not just losing time here, you're losing everything that time would have built. And the irony is, YouTube doesn't even care about your production quality. It measures engagement. And every single video is judged on its own merits, so those rough early videos that you're afraid to make can't drag down your channel. By the time your audience finds you, those first videos are buried anyway. No one's ever gonna really see them. But I get it, you still wanna start off on the right foot, and honestly, I would too. And there's a fine line between taking imperfect action and just rushing out crap. So I built a free tool that's gonna help you toe that line. It does two things for you. First of all, it gives you a no BS reality check on whether YouTube is even the right play for your specific business. Honestly, for some people it's not, and you deserve to know that before you spend a year recording videos that no one needs. Second, if it is a fit, and for most expertise-based businesses it is, it's gonna build you a custom plan for your first 5 videos. Not a whole content calendar, not 50 video ideas, just the 5 videos that are most likely to actually bring in clients for your business in the order you should make them. So click right here or down in the description below to grab that before you press record, and I'll see you in the next one.